For all acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind. Should all acquaintance be forgot for the sake of old lang syne? All you tuning in from distant lands and times, 2024 has just ended. Pencils down, cider glasses up, a toast to our past trials and former glories, and here's to our future endeavors, successes, and necessary lessons. Now, I've never done this before, but it's now customary on this channel to end the year with a sketchbook tour. And as it is said, so shall it be from now on. And to be honest, this format works out for me, because I don't usually draw in a traditional sketchbook. I do it like you see it. I draw on an 8.5 by 11 piece of printer paper, or watercolor paper, and then I get to business. When I'm done, I put the drawing in a plastic sleeve, put the plastic sleeve in a binder, put the binder on the shelf, and the legacy of that sketch or drawing is then cemented for all times to be seen as a lesson or a warning for all those who witness the contents of the binder, which is usually just me. But this year, I'm thankful that for the first time in the 4 or 5 years that I've been trying to make a YouTube channel work, deleting YouTube channels, starting again, switching up the formula, coming back again, asking the village elders what they think, and so on. This is the first time I've had more than 20 subscribers. And this is the first time I've had more than 1,000 views in total on a channel. That's right. That is right. I do it for the fans. Shout out to the fans and the casual viewership. Alright, enough of that. I just had to take a victory lap before I started talking about the sketchbook binder thing. Actually, you know what? I'm just gonna call it a sketchbook. This sketchbook represents a lot of the drawings that I did this year. But most of all, this sketchbook represents my desire to put my best foot forward as I try to become a more complete artist. In any case, and on all timelines, this is the year where I wanted to put some decent effort into figuring out what I'm interested in. A lot of that was done outside of this sketchbook in the form of just getting exposed to different artists and seeing what I do and don't like about their art and using that to improve my own art. I also spent a lot of time trying to learn anatomy. For me, learning anatomy has been something that I've tried to do several times, and every time I try to learn it, a small aspect of it sticks, but it's definitely a slow burn. This year, I started achieving some progress by periodically drawing body parts from different angles. So I'm pretty comfortable with most things from the pelvis up. I still need to improve on legs. I don't know why I avoided learning about leg anatomy for so long. So one of the goals for 2025 is not to skip leg day. Another thing I spent a decent amount of time learning is how to use gouache paints. A lot of my gouache practice was done in an actual gouache sketchbook, but then I realized I could just buy cheap 8.5 by 11 watercolor paper. So I'm probably gonna end up painting more in gouache. Speaking of drawing tools, I dipped my feet a little into drawing using pens this year, specifically using pens without an underlying pencil sketch. I mainly did that whenever I was drawing props or backgrounds. I like the look of an environment being captured using a pen, especially when it comes to architectural drawings. And of course, in these types of drawings, you usually have to focus on set dressing and composition. That means understanding what things you should put in a scene and how to arrange those things. So I started measuring and drawing household objects and making lists of things that would probably be in different types of rooms and environments. And this is another thing I want to do more of next year, specifically doing more pen drawing of architecture and objects, and possibly finishing them off with some gouache, perhaps, maybe, we'll see. One of the things I emphasized this year was learning to create interesting shapes. I'm not quite where I think I need to be in that aspect, but towards the end of the year, I think I started getting a lot better at finding interesting shapes by manipulating proportions and using a mix of curved and straight lines. The last thing that I kind of tried to improve but didn't improve on at all is composition and storytelling. This is going to be the focus of my endeavors next year for sure. That means focusing on gesture and focusing on the pose that got a character into a specific position and the position that the character is moving towards, It involves characters interacting with objects and environments or other characters. It involves using composition and perspective to make all of that interesting from an organizational point of view. It might even involve learning some animation principles and having a better understanding of body language and facial expressions. It involves 3 square meals, diet and exercise, and a good night's rest. One thing I did a lot this year was write and read. That has helped me out a lot when it comes to understanding what I find interesting, and also it's been helping me write scripts and form arguments better. The main purpose of my art journey in this point in time is to make my own comic book. And I've restarted the exercise of making comic book thumbnails and writing scripts in order to actually create a comic, serialized or otherwise. Hopefully 2025 sees the publishing of that comic, who knows? Of course, the business aspect of all of that is another beast entirely. There were some things I didn't expect this year. You can't see it too much in this sketchbook, but I started getting interested in typography, calligraphy, and graffiti. I guess the written word in all forms. I want to explore that more next year. I think it's interesting how certain fonts or styles affect mood and readability and work to slow a reader down, while other quote-unquote fonts are used to be purely iconic to the point where you're not necessarily reading the word, you're witnessing the legacy of everything that word is associated with. I think the Coca-Cola logo is a good example of that. I also started getting interested in drawing cars. I got into a bad accident this year and totaled my car completely. I ended up spending many hours looking into getting a new car, and the experience was made a little less painful by the fact that I didn't necessarily need a car in the short term. So I took my time searching for cars on the internet. I didn't want to spend an arm and a leg, so I wanted to get something used. And my god, Miami has so many scammers. Anyway, I eventually found a car, but through that process, I became interested in the different car models, old and new, and the different designs and design language used to make a appealing looking vehicle. So, in the end, I guess you could say that my car accident was a happy accident. Ha! Alright, if I could say one more thing, I hope you strive towards the things you desire this year. I know there's always talk of, oh, I don't make New Year's resolutions because I believe a person should be setting and accomplishing goals all year round. Even if there is some truth to that, I wanted to invite you to take this moment to set some goals, try and fail, and try again. The good thing about New Year's is that it's a wake-up call that you acknowledge. So take advantage of it. All that being said, I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And as always, be safe, take care, and later days.